time audit, and what's the purpose of doing this? What value am I getting out of doing a time audit? Well, let me explain what a time audit is and what it's for, and then how to do it. A time audit is an accounting of the time that we spend and everything that we do during a given week. You could have it during a day, or you could have it during a month, or whatever, but it's basically looking at the time spent during a week and how we're spending our time. A time audit is a tool for us, kind of like a budget is for money. A time audit is kind of a tool for us to have an awareness and evaluation of our use of time. Because time is a precious commodity and time is money in a way that we don't really think of, but impacts us, whether we realize it or not. It helps to have kind of an awareness of time. And so the time audit can be very helpful in doing that. I recommend people doing this practice of the time audit every semester or so. And let me explain kind of what it is. So what the time audit is you take your week, and during a week, there are a total of 168 hours. And you take that 168 hours, of course, spread across 7 days. 24 hours times 7 is how you get to that number. And what you try to do is estimate how much time you spend doing each item, activity, responsibilities, whatever you have going on during a week. So for example, the easiest example to start with is sleep. Okay, let's say somebody sleeps 8 hours a night on average, and there are 7 nights in the week, so that comes out to 56 hours of that week is dedicated to sleep. Okay. Along with that, you say, okay, well, how much time do I spend in the morning, maybe getting ready, getting dressed, showered, all that type of stuff? Somebody spends, and it'll be more or less time for the individual. This is true for all of these categories I'm going to mention as examples. Let's say the person goes and takes 20 minutes, get ready fairly quickly every day. Shower, dress, teeth brushed, okay, all that type of stuff, kind of getting ready to go. That would come out to 2 hours and 20 minutes a week spent on that type of thing. Then you think of things like driving. Then you think of things like, okay, how much time do I spend driving during the week? From place to place, all the places I need to go. Or how much time do I spend at work or at school or working on homework? And then think about, okay, how much time do I spend watching TV and social media and playing video games and whatever, and hanging out with friends. And the purpose of the time audit is not a judgmental purpose. It's not to say that time is spent on these things and should be and not on others. It's just to think through consciously all the things that you do during a given week. Now, there may be some things that you do only once a week. So you account for that. Okay, let's say it's something you do once a week. It takes 3 hours. Or on Saturday, there's, you go and play basketball for a couple hours. Okay, so 3 hours on Saturdays playing basketball. So that's 3. Or you may go to church on Sundays, or and you're trying to pick an average week. So maybe if there's like a birthday party you go to on a Saturday, that's probably not happening every week, but what usually happens on a Saturday? Maybe you hang out with friends. Maybe you watch TV. Maybe you scroll on social media, whatever the case may be. Okay. Or hobbies and interests, whatever just happens during a week. Now, your goal is to try to count up everything that you do. When you sit down and have a meal, how long does that take? You know, and sometimes it's like, okay, well, what if I eat while I'm watching TV? Okay, yeah, there's going to be some overlap or something like that, but you get, I think, the main point. So you're doing all these things, you add up and try to account for everything. Then you take the total amount of hours in a week, 168 hours, and you subtract whatever your number is. And usually, individual results may vary, but usually what people find is they have about an extra 24 hours that they didn't really account for somehow. Now they maybe recalculate a little bit, but even so, most people usually end up realizing that they have about 24 hours or a day's worth of unaccounted for time, which means that we have more time available than we're using. Now, why a time audit can be helpful and why I recommend doing one every semester is because a lot of times people get overwhelmed with what is happening and all the responsibilities and commitments that they have to meet. And that can cause them to feel stressed out. And what a time audit allows you to do is to feel a little bit like, okay, there is enough time. There's even a buffer of time that it is possible to use the time during the week and not and get done everything that I want to do, including the fun things that I want to do. Okay, so the second kind of purpose for it is that a lot of times, just like a budget is for money, people most of the time with money, they just don't realize how much they're spending or where they're spending or how they're spending. And a budget allows them to have, first of all, an awareness of where their money's going. And once they start having that awareness, that allows them to evaluate and make decisions. It's the same thing for the time audit. You have an awareness of where your time is going, how your time is being spent. And again, it's not to be judgmental or critical of these things. It's just to say, all right, are there any adjustments I might want to make? Are there any changes that I want to make or shift some time from one thing to another? It also allows people to think a little bit more strategically about their week, which is something that successful people do. Successful people often have planned down to the 15-minute mark. Like hyper successful people in business know every 15 minutes what they're doing. It doesn't mean they're doing a new task every 15 minutes, but it means that they can account for it down to that fine of a distinction of their time. And so what I mean is, as far as it helping you to be more strategic, is you may realize, oh, I was spending 3 hours watching TV a day. You know, maybe more, maybe less. You may not watch TV, but the overall point is, okay, maybe I was spending 3 hours watching TV. And I don't think about it when I just sit down and turn on the TV. I just kind of watch until I'm tired of watching or whatever, right? Maybe I'm sitting on my phone, maybe whatever the case may be. And so now that you have that awareness, doesn't mean watching TV is bad or that you have to get rid of it, or scrolling on social media is bad and that you have to get rid of it. It just allows you to say, well, maybe this week I'll just said, for an hour watching TV, just an hour watching TV, and I'll watch this show. And once I'm done, I'll go shift some of that extra time to something else. Right? Doesn't mean you have to make any changes. It just allows you now to evaluate and strategize with your time. And so it kind of frees you up. It also allows you to see if there's extra time in your week for extra things. Often one of the biggest things that people say for a reason why they believe honestly that they can't do something is I don't have time. And it's not necessarily that they are not telling the truth, and it's not necessarily that they feel like they don't have time. It's that they aren't aware fully of how their time is being spent. And I think, that this is why you do a time audit every once in a while. You look at, where is my time being spent, and do I like the way my time is being spent? Do I want to make any changes? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But a time audit is a tool that allows you to make those decisions.